Good evening. Welcome to Alexandria Animal Matters. Thank you for inviting us into your home this evening. I have with me Lisa Fernando, my co-host for the evening, and Brian Wilson, who is the president of the
Wilson Parrot Foundation.
And Wilson's going to tell us a lot of interesting stories about his life's work, which now has turned out to be with these magnificent birds that you'll see among us. But when, I was talking to someone and they suggested you as a guest, and I think, what we try and do is inform our audience and give them some education. But apparently you have an interesting story of how a bird or parrot or parrots turned your life around after something horrific had happened to you. Could you share us?
Well, about 16 years ago, I was retired as a firefighter in Montgomery County, Maryland. And I had 3 birds that I rescued. No, can we start over? Sorry. Let's digress back to when I was 8 years old. My parents took me to Florida, and we were walking along the Silver Springs walkway, and there was cage after cage after cage with birds just sitting there. Plucked feathers, dirty water, looked like mud, and feeding it nothing but seeds. And I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to buy one of those one day, and I'm never going to lock it away in a cage.
Oh, at 8 years old. How interesting.
And I studied macaws and Amazons.
That this is a macaw?
This is a macaw. This is a scarlet
macaw. The big guys
macaw.
Up there are Amazons?
Those are macaws also. The ones on the bottom are Amazons.
Oh, okay.
But I read the books, and a lot of books said don't buy one until you're at least 30 years old. And it's said because you're going to if you get a bird when you're young, you're going to love that bird to no end, but your life is going to change. You're going to start dating. You're going to go to college. Who gets left behind? The bird gets locked away in a cage. It starts plucking. It starts screaming. And then when you try to get it out, it's so angry it'll bite you. Well, I ended up getting 3 birds. And they were the love of my life. I even used to take them to the firehouse on weekends because I was working 24-hour shifts. And we'd go out doing inspections, and I'd take the birds with us, and every once in a while, we'd get a call. Well, Louie would go, fire truck, second alarm. Hi, Elva. Want to sing? Sing opera. But what happened, once they retired me, I started using my 3 birds to teach fire safety and gun safety. I had to keep saving people.
Aww.
And for 2.5, 3 months, I was doing that. I was wanted everywhere. And I was coming home after doing 5 daycare centers. And I didn't have my seatbelt on. I didn't have a need for it because I thought I was invincible being a fireman. I didn't have my birds in carriers or cages.
Wow.
And what happened was during my last daycare center, the vertebrae popped out in my neck. And on my way home, I was just crossed over Colesville Road and Georgia Avenue, and I looked up the little hill, and there wasn't any cars up there, but the light was green. Well, I backed off, and I'm trying to pop it back in, and I looked up, and wham, there was a moving van parked there. And I had such a bad head injury that when I woke up 3 weeks later, I was strapped to a bed in a rehab place in D.C., and if you've ever seen anybody who's had a major stroke, the whole right side was gone.
It was useless.
And they told me, my parents, I could understand everything they're saying. And after 4 months, they told my mom and dad that I'll probably never be any more than a 2 or 3-year-old in a wheelchair in a nursing home.
Wow.
Well, they took me to my townhouse, which I had back then, and the birds were staying over at a friend's house while I was in the rehab. And I didn't know numbers. I didn't know how to dial a phone. And I'd point to the phone, and my mom would say, who do you want to talk? Who do you want me to call? And I'd say, Joyce, okay. Well, she would dial Joyce's number, and I'd say, oh, hi, Brian, hold on, I'll put you on speakerphone. The birds heard the tone of my voice, and they just kept talking. They just kept talking. And they kept talking. And all of a sudden, I was goo goo gaga and trying to say it, and all of a sudden I said it, and it clicked 2 or 3 other words each time.
So the birds actually helped you.
The birds taught me how to talk again, and then I had to learn to walk again to take care of them. So then I realized these birds did this for me. I'm going to rescue every bird I can find that's being neglected, mistreated, or unwanted, and they're everywhere. 95% of everybody who gets a bird, after a year, 2 years, the newness starts wearing off, and they start putting it in a cage. It's not like dogs and cats that can go run and play. They get locked in cages. And then they start screaming, so they open the cage to stop it from screaming. Well, that teaches it to scream to get out.
Habits.
Yeah. And then they'll throw a blanket over it because they're tired of letting it out. They're tired of it going potty everywhere. They're tired of destroying everything. You ought to see our foundation. We're constantly rebuilding it. There's no birds locked away in any cage. We have 42 right now, and these are all the big ones. We have about 8 little smaller conures and such. But let me go.
Lisa, do you have? I think you wanted to ask some questions about how the foundation works, and
Yeah, where do you get your birds from, and do you have volunteers? And
we have. And I want to thank all the volunteers before I forget. I couldn't do it without you all. I couldn't. The magnitude is outrageous. These birds get everything they want and desire all the time. If you can get a close-up on my arm, the scars all over my arm. When we get the birds, these birds have, I'd say 90% of them have been neglected to the point where they can't even open a cage up. And when they bring them to me, I show them, I let them bite me. I let them, and I show no fear of pain, and the birds back down. And they run from me. It's called fight or flight. Once the fighting doesn't bother me, they run from me. And then I'll corner them. I'll say, "Come on, step up," and they'll bite again. I said, "Yeah," and then I deepen my voice. I say, "Step up," and they bite me again sometimes. But after that 3rd time, I say, "Step up," and they go, "Okay," and their eyes dilate like saying, "Thank God I got a new daddy. I don't have to be in charge anymore." The bird's saying.
Well, Brian, once you now, do you then adopt them out though to appropriate people? People who are, do you educate them on what it means to own a bird?
Our organization is unlike all the other rescuers of parrots. I rehabilitate with the help of all the volunteers, bring them back to being the happiest birds, where we can not only hold them by ourselves, but we can put them on next to, I can load 9 birds on her right now.
I don't think so, but
I can put them on her head. With the wings wide open. If y'all come down to Old Town Alexandria on the weekends, we're most likely going to be down there.
We see you, yeah.
I've seen you.
Yeah.
But so then do you let appropriate people, once they pass the test?
Yeah, well, what they have to do with us is they have to volunteer at least 3 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. And they have to prove to me that the bird, in fact, does love them more than me. And it happens. Sometimes.
Yeah, because they give it special attention. You've got a lot to give it.
And also the reason why it's 3 to 6 months is they have to prove to me that they understand what I'm saying that they have to do when they take the bird home. Don't treat it any different in the beginning as you're going to treat it the rest of your life.
Oh, I see. Although I think a lot of veterinarians, a lot of people that end up in the sheltering jobs do have this affinity very early. And yours just happen to be with birds.
Yeah. Right.
So those are quite some stories. So what's this guy's name?
This is Tiki.
Is that a
Tiki's
gal?
a scarlet macaw.
Is that a girl or a boy?
It's a girl. This is Rocco, who's a boy. The only way we can tell is genetically. There's no way to tell by looking at them. All the birds we have, we can't tell, except for a pair of eclectus parrots. You can tell by one is a beautiful green, and the other one's got purple. It's so beautiful.
Well, listen, this has been great. And Lisa, thank you for being here to help out
Thank you for having me.
protect me from these birds. Just kidding, but Brian, thank you so much, and good luck with your
website.
And I'm sure the website they'll find at the Parrot Foundation.
WilsonParrotFoundation.org.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
having us.
birds.
Hello.